Chapter 10, the shell and the glasses. As I said, previously, the rising action is building up to a feverish pitch. We've seen the fracture of the tribe. Probably, after this chapter, it's a tribe that won't come back together again. You can see it's two divisions. We see right at the beginning here, Piggy and Ralph discussing kind of skirting around the issue of Simon's death and their role in it. And they pretty much flat out lie, about where they were and what they were doing, especially when Sam and Eric show up. Page 156. You can see a couple moments I want to point out where Ralph and Piggy are struggling with this, okay? Because they were just as guilty as everyone else in the murder of Simon. At the top, at length Ralph got up and went to the conch. He took the shell caressingly with both hands and knelt, leaning against the trunk. Almost just thinking, holding on to that conch shell. Piggy, huh? What are we going to do? Piggy nodded at the conch. You could call an assembly. Ralph laughed sharply as he said the word, and Piggy frowned. You're still chief. And Ralph laughed again. See Piggy holding out that previous structure of command that they had established? Ralph knows that it's fractured, it's done. He might be chief only in word. Do people look at him as a chief anymore? No. Because they walked out on him. They divided, they broke up, they're not listening to him anymore. And so he kind of has this, his defense mechanism for dealing with this was to find humor in what Piggy was saying, and he laughs. As he does later on with the joke about Piggy should mail his aunt. Ralph goes on and he goes, Piggy, huh? That was Simon. You said that before. Piggy, huh? Here's the key. That was murder. It wasn't an accident. Now, it wasn't necessarily premeditated murder, like you see serial killers who plan out a murder and then go and do it. This is, in the heat of the action. But they physically killed him and did not stop. Piggy, you stop it. What good are you doing talking like that? He jumped to his feet and stood over Ralph. It was dark. There was that bloody dance. There was lightning and thunder and rain. We was scared. I wasn't scared, said Ralph slowly. I don't know what I was. We was scared, said Piggy excitedly. Ralph wasn't scared. A lot of those other people weren't scared. They were enjoying their dance. They were remember that passion that they had jumping around. Piggy's desperately trying to grab onto something that shows their innocence. And you can see him stumbling over himself in these next couple pages. That it truly was murder. And Piggy desperately wants to not have it be murder. And Ralph is more accepting of it, even though he doesn't necessarily approve of it. The top of 157. Don't you understand, Piggy? The things we did? Well, he may still be. No. What was Piggy going to say?
Alive.
He still might be alive. No, Piggy. There is no way that he is still alive. Perhaps he was only pretending. You see Piggy crying? And this is probably the one time in the book where you can see Piggy really being a child. Not being that voice of reason and logic. Right? Can you see how he's changing a little bit? There's even a moment where Sam and Eric are fighting in this chapter. Sam and Eric, they're two people, but they're referred to as one, Sam and Eric, because they finish each other's sentences. They think the same thing. They do the same thing. They laugh at the same time. And then all of a sudden they're fighting and pounding on each other. Something's going wrong on this island. And that's when Piggy goes, we have got to get rescued. We've got to get away from here. It was an accident, said Piggy suddenly. That's what it was, an accident. His voice shrilled again. Coming in the dark. He had no business crawling like that out of the dark. He was batty. He asked for it. He gesticulated wildly. It was an accident. Did Piggy really just say that Simon was asking to to be murdered it serves him right. He shouldn't be doing that. He should have seen what we were doing. That's really the last argument that Piggy can come up with. And he's just praying that Ralph goes, yeah, it was his fault. You're right. We should be guilt-free. But they're not. They're feeling guilt, and they're trying to justify it. And this isn't guilt like back home when, maybe they hit their sister and they're feeling guilty, or they got caught doing something they shouldn't have been. They felt guilty there, but here they killed somebody. They murdered, and it wasn't like they riled up and went and killed Jack. It wasn't some power play. They killed the most, and we looked at the illusions earlier, the most Christ-like character on that island. The one who was trying to help them, always. It's okay, Ralph, you'll get home someday. Don't look so sad. Here, little one, let me help you with the food. You guys are scared? I'll go, it was me walking around. I'll go and check on the beast. I'll go do that. If somebody needs to go back and be with Piggy and the little ones and cross the island in the dark, no, I'll do that. You guys can keep going to the mountain. The person who was always doing things for other people. The one person that you probably didn't want to kill or had no business being killed. Well, those little ones are doing it. I understand that. But this is the person who's contributing something. And it's usually in morale and making people feel better. And you went and killed them. So that's probably why the guilt is a little bit stronger. Okay? I'm sure they feel guilty with murdering anyone, but add a little bit more because of who it was. At the very bottom, they almost try to have a cover-up here. And look, Ralph, Piggy glanced around quickly, then leaned close. Don't let on we was in that dance. Not to Sam and Eric. But we were! All of us! Piggy shook his head. Not us till last. They never noticed in the dark. Anyway, you said I was only on the outside. So was I, muttered Ralph. I was on the outside too. Piggy nodded eagerly. Do you see how they're getting their story straight? It's like you see two criminals getting ready to be interrogated by cops. Now make sure, we weren't there. We arrived late. We left early. Wink, wink. And then Ralph shakes his head as well. That's right, we was on the outside. We never done nothing. We never seen nothing. So, it's just full outline. Do you see how the island is changing these two individuals as well? We've obviously in the Savages and Jack, how they've changed. I've mentioned Sam and Eric, how they've changed. And we'll see that fight here in the next couple pages. But look at what Piggy and Ralph are doing. The kind of the real leaders, the smartest ones on the island, along with Simon, but he's gone, so we're not talking about him. And yet, look at how they are breaking apart as well. Their morals, their ethics are changing. Sam and Eric came dragging the great log out of the forest. They dumped it by the fire and turned to the pool. Ralph jumped to his feet. Hi, you two! Hi! How you guys doing? What you doing? Doesn't that seem a little weird? Have we seen much? Hello! How are you doing today? Not at all. So obviously, there's some tension. There's awkward tension, and so let's be overly friendly and we can just ignore all of that stuff that's happened. Sam and Eric are acting weird. Hello, fancy meeting you here, Ralph. We've just been in the forest to get wood for the fire. We got lost last night. Oh, Ralph examined his toes. He couldn't look at them in the eye. Oh, you got lost after the he doesn't say it. ... It trails off. Peggy cleaned his lens. After the feast. Yeah, said Sam in a stifled voice. Eric nodded. Yes, after the feast. Piggy quickly. Oh, we left early because we were tired. Yeah, so did we. Very early. Yeah, we were very tired. Sam touched a scratch on his forehead and then hurriedly took his hand away. Eric fingered his split lip. Who else is lying about where they were? Sam and Eric. Why did Sam stop rubbing his forehead quickly? Where did he get that mark?
From the dance.
The dance, the fight. He got beat up. Did you see Eric playing with his lip? It's almost like a poker tell. You can tell they're bluffing. Look at their nervous twitches that they're doing. So all of them are skirting around the issue. Even Ralph, looking at his toes, shy. Ralph shouldn't be shy to these other kids. And so he's shy. He's not even looking at them, and then they're all kind of getting their story straight. It's really sad that they can't talk about it, that they can't take ownership of it, like Ralph was saying earlier. So, a big moment. The very last couple lines of that page, it's huge. The air was heavy with unspoken knowledge. Sam twisted and the obscene words shot out of him. Dance? Because just previously they asked, yes, we were very tired, repeated Sam, so we left early. And he asks the rest of them, we left early. Was it a good dance? Which pretty much implicates them that they were there because they knew what was going on. So was it a good dance? Just imagine that tension in the air. Memory of the dance that none of them had attended shook all four boys convulsively. We left early. We don't know. But all of them, they were there, and they had that memory stuck with them. This chapter goes back and forth between those boys dealing with it, and then we jump to Castle Rock, where we really see Jack as the leader, the ruler, and some interesting methods to his leadership. Roger's coming to the neck of the land. Remember the geographic breakdown of this Castle Rock. It's at the far end of an island, where the island gets pinched off. Okay? The island ends, but there's just a little walkway at the very end, and then kind of a structure of rock. It's similar to, if you think about a ship, how it has a mast out front, you know, the mast and then the riggings and all of that, and then out front it has that ledge, that place people can go stand on. It's kind of like that, separated from the rest of the ship, just kind of juts out into the ocean by itself, and it's very much like that. So Roger's coming back, and then, halt, who goes there? Roger. Advance, friend. You could see who I was. The chief said we got to challenge everyone. So there's someone guarding. Guarding against what and who? Are they scared of Sam and Eric and Piggy? Maybe they're not even really scared of Ralph. But the last time we saw these kids on the beach, something was flying at them from the mountaintop. Maybe the beast. They killed what they thought was the beast, and they ultimately see that it was Simon afterwards. Okay? We get to see some of their guilty lines coming up. But they still have this uneasiness. And you still see that fear that's on the island. Even if Jack ignores it like he did throughout most of the book, he always has this maybe something is there. Maybe. Can't be 100% sure. Let's see. Look at the rock at the very top of 159. Roger clambered up the ladder-like cliff. Look at this. A log had been jammed under the topmost rock and another lever under that. Robert leaned lightly on the lever and the rock groaned. A full effort would send the rock thundering down to the neck of the island. So that little bridge that they were guarding, they're up above with this rock, and if they pull down on the lever, the rock's going to go down and shatter, and you know that's a defense against the beast should it charge, or should some other enemies charge. Look at Roger's response. Roger admired. He's a proper chief, isn't he? Remember, Roger was that dark, gloomy individual, and he's obviously talking about Jack at this point. But Jack's actions are so different from Ralph's, but yet Roger associates himself or associates the role of leader and chief with Jack, so you can see that their personalities must be kind of close. Robert nodded. Yep, good chief. He's going to take us hunting, and he jerked his head in the direction of the distant shelters where a thread of white smoke climbed into the sky. And so he's going to take us hunting, and where does he point? Where does he move his head at? Back to the rest of our ex-tribe. We're going to go and do some stuff in a little while. He's going to beat Wilfred. What for? Robert shook his head doubtfully. I don't know. He didn't say. He got angry and made us tie Wilfred up. He giggled excitedly. He's been tied for hours, waiting. We don't know why this little boy has been tied up. But for some reason, Jack has enacted a punishment on this kid, and he's been tied for hours. Does that surprise you based on what we know about Jack? Remember, the reason he wanted rules at the very beginning was so that we can have punishments. That's what he was really excited about. Okay? So, we get to see just a couple lines here, a couple lines there, and we really get to see what, what kind of a true leader Jack really is. Page 160, follow along. The left-hand side there. The chief was sitting there naked to the waist, his face blocked out in white and red. The tribe lay in a semicircle before him. The newly beaten and untied Wilfred was sniffing noisily in the background. Roger squatted with the rest. So they're all, come listen to story time. You show your devotion to me. No one stands at eye level. You kneel or sit on the ground, and I'm able to look over you. We're going to go hunting tomorrow. Someone says, well, what are we going to do for fire? Good question. Very similar to the first time they made a fire up on the mountaintop. Right? They get there and said, okay, well, go ahead and light it. And no one, they built all the wood, they made all that effort and sweat, but no one had a match. No one had thought about it. And so Jack, to this point, still doesn't think about the fire. He just thinks about hunting and providing meat. Now, they're on an island, folks, where it takes hours to get wherever they need. There's only a certain amount of land. If you go hunting all the time, is that a good idea? You run out of food. Oh, well, the pigs can have piglets and all that stuff. Okay, great, but you're killing all. You're not giving them time to grow. They need to get rescued. That's their only way for longevity, I guess, other than maybe cannibalism. Talk about being a sow and piglets and all these things. I'm like, well, don't you want to keep the women so they can have more kids and more food? But no, hey, let's go kill all the women. Great job, good job procreating that. Okay, for future livestock or future kills, future hunt. And so Jack, I think we get to see that that's really his fault, is his arrogance and his inability to think long term. Just immediate gratification. How can I stay relevant amongst everybody else? Oh, be in charge of the hunters. And so that's what he keeps talking about. The bottom of 160 is important. A savage raised his hand, and the chief turned a bleak, painted face toward him. Why should they try to sneak in, chief? The chief was vague but earnest. They will. They'll try to spoil things we do. So the watchers at the gate must be careful. And so the watchers, not just to protect from beasts, but the other people who are there to spoil what we do. When people are usually spoiling something, it's usually spoiling fun, right? I mean, he's even implying that they're going to spoil this. They're going to try to ruin this game that we're playing. And now Jack, with all of his power, he doesn't want to give it up. The chief paused. They saw a triangle of startling pink dart out, pass along his lips, and vanish again. So his tongue. So he licks his lip, takes a moment, and then the beast might try to come in. You remember how he crawled. The semicircle shuddered and muttered in agreement. He came disguised. He may come again, even though we gave him the head of our kill to eat. So watch and be careful. Stanley lifted his forearm off the rock and held up an interrogative finger. Well, but didn't we? He squirmed and looked down. No. In the silence that followed, each savage flinched away from his individual memory. No. How could we kill it? So that's them figuring this out. Figuring out what they did. Flinching, getting worried, getting upset about, we killed Simon. We killed one of us. Because the beast came disguised. Blah, blah, blah. No. Again, they're trying to rationalize their actions and what they truly think so that they feel a little bit better. No one is taking, I don't want to say credit for it, but no one is manning up. And can you really blame them if they're 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds? That they're not manning up? But it's a sad thing, and it just shows you how far these these kids, if we go back to the first chapter and we read about their order and their structure and how they had this goal and this plan, and look at the chaos that's starting and then going to keep on ensuing. But even Jack's line at the bottom, how could we kill it? Doesn't that sound very familiar to Ralph? Wasn't he always saying that? What are you going to do, hunters? Boys with sticks, how are you going to kill it? You can't kill it. And even that echoes some of what Simon was saying, that it's us, that it's a fear. You can't kill it. It's not something to be killed. And so some of that wisdom from earlier is starting to sink in, I think, a little bit with these guys. 161. I expect the beast disguised itself. Perhaps, said the chief, a theological speculation presented itself. We better keep on the right side of him anyhow. You can't tell what he might do, so we're going to continue to give sacrifices and be good to the beast and do the proper thing. So we're going to keep living, the way that we were earlier. And then they say, Chief, yes, what do we use for lighting the fire? Well, we shall take fire from the others. And so that's where they decide that Maurice, was it Roger? Yep, Roger and Jack are planning to go and invade the remnants of the tribe and steal fire. We get to see this play out over the next few pages, 162, 163, and so on. They're sitting around talking about, we need to get rescued. I wish we had a radio. Oh, I wish we had a boat or a plane. Well, of course you wish those things so you could get away. But then they even say, well, the Reds might catch us. So our enemies in the war. So we're still remembering the war to some degree. So this is the first kind of talk about the past in a little while. Okay? A little while. So it's kind of neat when they can pull back something from their pre-island existence. They talk about how the wood is too much effort to keep the fire going. Come on guys, we kept it going up on the mountain. Why are we struggling now? Well, we had a lot more people. We only have 4 people. So if we do it, takes 2 people to do this, 12-hour shifts, no big deal. You want to spend half your day dealing with the fire? Do you see how that's a lot of work for these people, when before it would have just been short little shifts and very manageable? And so now it's a big deal. And they're starting to, even Ralph's starting to forget about why they're building the fire. It's just the fact that we need the fire. Look on page 163. Sam and Eric said, well, what is the good? What's the good of the fire? Ralph tried indignantly to remember. There was something good about a fire, something overwhelmingly good. Yeah, rescue, dummy. You need that fire for the smoke. But everything else is being lost. Okay, not just memories and the way that they're going about, their things are breaking up. Sam and Eric fighting and beating up on each other. I mean, all of these things are just, these kids are breaking down. And so much so that the one person pushing for that smoke and fire, the whole book, he's still pushing for that fire, but he's forgotten the reason why. It's like if you've ever seen a movie or TV where a family is fighting with another family, generations and generations. Yeah, we hate those people down the road. And then the kids and the kids and the kids of the kids of the kids, generations. Yeah, we hate those people. Why? I don't know. They told us to hate them. They kind of forget the reasons why. And we have that same problem here with Ralph. Good. They all go down to sleep, 164, 165. Ralph finally says, let the fire go out for tonight. They're trying to keep it going, and they're not going to get smoke. But it's more than smoke to some of them, and Ralph even mentions that. It's something about it being like a hearth, like a fireplace in your house. It's something nice to go to sleep next to. You have the warmth. You have the safety of the fire. You know that you can easily put on wood and make smoke. I mean, it's just a comfort, not just for smoke to be rescued, but it's something more. And it's kind of neat that he acknowledges that it does give some comfort to the overall group. There's a joke on 165 where Ralph and he's just telling Piggy, Piggy spoke softly to Ralph. "We got to get out of this." "What do you mean? Get rescued?" For the first time that day, and despite the crowded blackness, Ralph sniggered, hopeless. "I mean it," whispered Piggy. "If we don't get home soon, we'll be barmy, round the bend, bomb happy, crackers." Ralph pushed the damp tendrils of his hair out of his eyes. "You write a letter to your Annie. You know what you should do? You should go write a letter to your Annie." Piggy's response: "Well, I don't know where she is now, and I haven't got an envelope and a stamp, and there isn't a mailbox or a postman." The success of his tiny joke overcame him. Ralph was being crazy sarcastic there. Well, what was he going to write on anyways? But Piggy didn't look at it. He goes, "Well, I don't even know where she's at. And plus, when am I going to get a stamp? And there's no postman to take it, Ralph." So Piggy was serious about it. And that just pushed Ralph over the edge that, wow, that joke just landed hard. Okay, so he laughs and laughs. And Sam and Eric have their fight, and we get to see them breaking up, and that led into Piggy saying, we've got to get out of here. The last 2 pages, last 2.5 pages, Ralph is asleep. Piggy wakes him up. "Do you hear something?" And it's the attack from Jack, Roger, and Morris. They come and sneak up. You hear leaves crunching. You hear sticks breaking. And even Piggy, for a moment, he doesn't think it's the big guys. Who does he think it is? The beast, because he says, "It's real." That's the first time Piggy has ever said that. Piggy never went up and saw the thing on the mountain. All he's heard are stories and people scared and the fear. But this is the first time that he actually says it's real. Desperately, Ralph prayed that the beast would prefer little ones. And so he thinks that it could be the beast as well, and he's praying that it'll go get the little ones in the other shelter. "Please just ignore us and go eat the little ones. Please, please." Secretly, quietly, he's hoping that. A voice whispered horribly outside, "Piggy, Piggy." "It's come," gasped Piggy. "It's real." He clung to Ralph and reached to get his breath. "Piggy, come outside. I want you, Piggy." Ralph's mouth was against Piggy's ear. "Don't say anything. Piggy, where are you, Piggy?" And we know that this is Jack. But kids' imagination is probably one of the scariest things you can ever have in the world. Almost what they can possibly imagine is worse than what could ever happen to them. And we see that play out here where it isn't truly the it isn't truly the beast coming for pigs or coming for the kids. It's coming, Jack coming for Piggy thinks, the conch shell, but we know they're coming for fire. Well, but if the fire's going out, we see at the very end, Jack ultimately came for glasses. Why steal one branch of burning fire and take that back? Why don't you just take the thing that will light fire whenever you need it? And that's the true power on the island. It's not the conch shell. Because after the big fight on 167, the front of the shelter comes in, there's an explosion, they jump in. I mean, it's just fighting. It's dark. Everybody's punching and kicking. It talks about, Ralph found fingers in his mouth, so he bit. A punch hit his face, pulled away, and then pistoned back. He's rolling around. Somebody gets kneed in the groin, and it talks about, explode. I think it was Ralph. A knee jerked up between his legs, and he fell sideways, busying himself with his pain, and the fight rolled over him. Ultimately, dark figures drew themselves out of the wreckage and flitted away till the screams of the little ones and Piggy's gasps were once more audible. Because while everything was quiet before the fight, Piggy's asthma came because he started to panic. And then it's almost like a seizure because he can't breathe, and that's when the fight happened. So imagine all that commotion. Now once the fight ended and the big uns took off, you finally hear the little ones crying and Piggy wheezing and gasping and struggling to breathe. And that's where they decided that the fight happened. Okay, and the big uns, and it wasn't the beast. At the bottom of 167, Ralph is actually reliving the fight with Sam and Eric. Very similar to after the time that he stuck the pig with the spear. He says, "I gave him what for," said Ralph. "I smashed him up all right. He won't want to come and fight us again in a hurry." "So did I," said Eric. "When I woke up, one was kicking me in the face. I got an awful bloody face, I think, Ralph. But I did him in the end." "Oh, what did you do?" Well, I got my knee up, said Eric with simple pride, and I hit him with it in the pills. You should have heard him holler. He won't come back in a hurry, so we didn't do too badly. Who was fighting whom? They were fighting each other. In all that commotion, you couldn't see. Ralph thought he was fighting Jack or whomever, but really he was pounding away on Sam and Eric. And Eric kicked him in the crotch. And so that description we saw earlier was him fighting the wrong people, which might explain why they could get away with Piggy's glasses without too much damage done to the others that we've seen thus far. Let's see. He found Piggy. Piggy, they didn't take the conch. I know. They didn't come for the conch. They came for something else. Ralph, what am I going to do? Both of them, for a moment, they thought that the conch was what they were after, because the conch is the ultimate sense of power and control. But just like Ralph's, his title of chief doesn't mean anything anymore, that conch shell, once the tribe broke, ceases to mean anything at all. The symbolism of it's gone. But what's the true symbolism? The fire. The fire is power, folks. The fire is rescue. And what makes it? The glasses. And that's what we still don't even know what it was until the very last line, when we see Jack and everybody running down the beach, heading home, dangling Piggy's glasses in his hands and pointing his spear and jabbing around. So it's almost like another kill the pig, slit its throat, spill its blood. They're almost as excited because they've got, it's almost like having matches on an island. Unlimited fire. So they are in control. 2 more chapters. We get to see in the upcoming chapters, what's going to happen. Is Ralph going to sit idly by and let Jack take over the island? No, spoiler alert, no, he's not. And so we're going to have a lot of that chaos and anarchy just go nuts in these last 2 chapters. And it's really a sprint to the end. Okay? Jack's fortified up in Castle Rock. And when we see, the next chapter is called Castle Rock, we can imagine, what's going to happen. We know that it's heavily guarded, well, heavily with the kids, but also with that big rock up on top that's meant to keep Ralph and Beast and everyone else away. And so they're fortified. So how is he going to do it? What's it going to look like? Are we going to have that ultimate battle of Jack and Ralph head-to-head that we have been hoping for? If you have a dark sense of hoping like I do all the time. So are they going to have that? We'll see. And that's why these last 2 chapters, sit down and read them all at once. You'll really, truly enjoy them, on a deeper level if you keep the continuity going. And if you're behind, get caught up so that you can enjoy the ending with us.